You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
What is up, everybody? We are in my bedroom right now, getting ready to hang out with one of my favorite creators of all time, Madeleine Holly-Rosing. So kick back and get ready to ask her some questions. You're watching Kickin It With Onrie, the live crowdfunding show. For years, I have traveled the world, slinging my creator-owned comics at the biggest and hottest cons. Now I'm sitting down with creators who have active crowdfunding campaigns happening right now, and I'm opening the gateway so that you can connect with them and support their work. You're watching Kickin It With Onrie, the live crowdfunding show. What is up, everybody? We got such an exciting week. So much stuff has happened this week. We had the last episode of Moon Knight come out. Now we have a new Doctor Strange movie, which I still haven't gotten a chance to check out yet. And then tomorrow we got Free Comic Book Day. Oh my God. And I still have to get ready for Free Comic Book Day. I'm going to be set up tomorrow at North Shore Comics, and we're going to be doing a 5-hour-long live stream. So if you are in an orphan area that has no comic shops, have no fear. I am bringing Free Comic Book Day to you. All you got to do is shop with me, and I will hook you up with your own Free Comic Book Day bundle bag. And that is going to be sponsored by our good friends at North Shore Comics. Now, with me today, I have an excellent guest. We have Madeleine Holly-Rosing, who is the creator of the Boston Metaphysical Society. Madeleine, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for making time to sit down and chat with me. And I have a boatload of questions for you because
Okay.
I see you absolutely rocking it on Kickstarter right now. And if we can, why don't we drop the link to your Kickstarter in the comments? Do me a favor, just go to that private chat and drop the link to it. Or actually, I'll do it for you.
Okay.
But why don't you get started by telling us who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Madeleine Holly-Rosing. I am the writer-creator of the Steampunk Supernatural graphic novel, prose, and audio drama series, Boston Metaphysical Society. We currently have, we started with the 6-issue miniseries with art by Emily Hugh, which is volume 1. And currently on Kickstarter is volume 2, which comprises our 4 sequels, The Scourge of the Mechanical Men, The Spirit of Rebellion, Ghosts and Demons, and The Book of Demons, plus a bonus 10-page story with art by Roberta Ingranata that is exclusive to this trade paperback.
So, Madeleine, I want to start at the beginning here because I see what you have built. I went to your website yesterday and I see your campaign, and just everything you've been doing is just so inspirational to me. It's just like you're building this empire. How did this all start? Where did you begin, and where are you now with it?
Well, Boston Metaphysical started as a TV pilot that I wrote while I was in the MFA program in screenwriting at UCLA. And it was generally received well, but this was before, steampunk had pretty much hit mainstream. So it was suggested that I turn it into a graphic novel form to resell back to Hollywood. Well, a funny thing happened in this journey, and I discovered I really loved writing comics, and I just adore being in the indie comic creator community. I pretty much found my space, and I've been really happy here. So I just started to build on that. When we finished the 6-issue series with Emily Hugh, she moved on to bigger and better, as great artists always do, and brought on Gwen Tavares for the sequels. And Gwen has done a absolutely fabulous job with the last 4 sequels. And but prior to that, while we were in production for the original 6-issue miniseries, I started writing short stories and novellas, basically to establish canon for the universe and start building it out. And also I had the idea that of bringing prose people into the graphic novel space and graphic novel people into the prose space. And when I did the novel A Storm of Secrets, which is a prequel to the 6-issue miniseries, that assumption pretty much held true. And it was really interesting to see people who were very open, who normally would just buy prose, would go like, well, this looks interesting. Let me try both. And so I just started, cross marketing between prose and graphic novel, while continuing on with the graphic novels. I decided a while ago that anything in the timeline prior to the original 6-issue miniseries was going to be in prose, and everything in the future, that timeline was going to be in graphic novel format. And the reasoning for that was budget. As you very well know, it is expensive to produce a comic, and particularly a full graphic novel. So this just seemed a logical way to continue building out the universe in a way that my finances could afford.
And it's interesting because it's like almost like you found a way to make it. Well, it's not almost. You did find a way to make it work. And I find it very interesting how you went about doing it. And the one thing I always think about is time, right? Because we only have so many hours in the day, and to get things done. When I look at what you've built with Boston Metaphysical Society, it's like this big, like you have a library to work off of now. And
Yes.
It's a bunch of stuff that you have in place that people can constantly go to. Now, a question I have for you is, for all of your fans who like the graphic novel but aren't, may not be into book reading as much, has it been easy for you to kind of bring them on board to the novellas that you've been doing? Have you seen like everybody, like do you see a lot of people jumping from one to the other from your fan base?
I have seen people, yeah, they do jump over. I mean, not everybody, because some people are just like, graphic novels my thing. And obviously I respect that. And I'll have other people say, only prose is my thing. And that's totally fine. But it's really nice to be able to, one, offer them the opportunity to have both. And I also have no idea how some people come into the world. And, the same thing with doing the audio drama. Once that goes live into the wide world, I mean, right now it's just available on CD and download through me. Other people are going to experience the world and, audio wise, and then go like, well, wait, there's a graphic novel. Wait, there's more that I can go experience. And there's going to be some people who will want to do that. Others who won't, and that's fine too. So this just offers different opportunities for people to explore the world in different ways.
What I think is really cool about it is the fact that you give your audience permission to do that. Like, whereas like when you look at Marvel and DC, it's like how they have their crossovers, for example, which obviously all stay within comics. But like, let's say, like right now, DC's doing this like Alpha War thing, and you have to buy every week. You have to buy a new issue of wherever Alpha War is continuing. So one week it's in an issue of Batman, and the next week it's an issue of Robin, whatever the case is. I honestly haven't been following it that much, but I think it's great that you can still keep your stories self-contained. Like if you just want to read the graphic novel, you get the whole story there. And if you want to learn more, it's like Star Wars. It's like opening up the canon to other platforms, which I think is really brilliant. And I noticed you did audio dramas too, right?
Yes. We finished the audio drama earlier this year, and I got that to Kickstarter backers back in March, I think. In March, we finished shipping all of that out. And it is the audio drama is available on this current Kickstarter as well. I do have what I call my radio drama, audio drama tier, where you can get, the CD or a download or something like that. And
who does the narration for it? Are you doing it, or?
Oh, no. This is this was quite a deal. fortunately for me, I had made friends with Eddie Louise and Chip Michael, who were the co-creators of another audio drama called Sage and Savant, which was on for 4 years. Actually, it's still out there. You can go listen to it right now. They did a fabulous job. It's, you know, a steampunk theme, time travel, terrific story. And in fact, I really blame the whole audio drama thing on Eddie Louise, because pre-pandemic, we were hanging out at the Nebula conference when it was here in Woodland Hills. And she said, you know, she goes, you have to do Boston Metaphysical as an audio. You have to. And I said, well, I'll only do it if, you know, basically you and Chip come on board as my production team, because I don't know how to do one. And I want it done professionally. So we had a full cast. We sent out casting notices. We have a full cast of 12 actors, original music, sound effects. So it's like your old time radio drama. The actors were just amazing. They were so wonderful. And this is also the Ghost Ship. It's called Boston Metaphysical Society, the Ghost Ship. It is also a self-contained story. And it takes place roughly within the time period of the first 6 issues. I kind of fudged that a little bit because I'm the writer. But it's in there somewhere.
Mistakes, you can always blame the artist. That's what I do.
It's
the letterer, especially the letterer.
But yeah, and it just turned out amazingly well. And Chip handled, my God, he handled so much. He was he was our audio engineer, our director, and our composer. So he had some heavy lifting, and I was a producer. And for those of you who think producing is glamorous, think again. It's, as you know, it's about legal contracts. It's about casting. It's about, so many little things. I had the CDs made, and it was the first time I'd ever dealt with having, actual CDs made physically, and getting all the artwork right for that, and making sure all the files are right. And they look beautiful, by the way, the actual CD package. Hang on, let me see if I can grab one. Hang on a second.
And you guys see Madeleine's got her whole shipping set up here. So here's a question I had just looking at your background. Oh, this is beautiful. JD, can we give her the full screen just so we can see that real quick?
I'm trying to get the.
You guys see enough of me? Yeah, there we go.
Oh, I'm getting reflection here.
Yeah, the glare, but yeah, I can see it. It looks.
There we go. Here we go. That's better.
Wow.
And there we go.
That is so cool. Okay, so I have a question for you. I'm looking at what's behind you. You have all the shipping stuff here. When the heck do you have time to write? What?
That's the mystery. What is it? What is the saying from Shakespeare in Love? It's like, it's a mystery. It's just a mystery. No, time management is a real issue. Particularly,
I'm glad you're not shy about saying that, because I feel the same exact way. But go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is. But what happens is, I just do little bits at a time, and it all ends up getting done. So you don't have to sit down for 3 hours and just do one thing.
Yeah. It's kind of come to it, and I've been doing the same thing recently, and it's helped me. It's helped me a lot. But I mean. See, you're not just a writer. You're a freaking entrepreneur. You are doing everything. And
correct.
Yeah, that's so what's a day in the life look like?
A day in the life is usually get up and feed the dogs. That's really important. Then I usually hit the gym in the morning, run errands, come back, do some social media. Eat some lunch, take a nap, get back on and do any, for like an hour, take care of. And this is when I'm not running a Kickstarter, because that's a whole other.
It sounds like the way you were describing it. I'm like, that sounds like a vacation.
Yeah.
It's not, of course, but
No, because. But yeah, so I'll spend an hour on administrative tasks, which can include anything from, paying out-of-state taxes to setting up travel arrangements to go to a con, ordering inventory, actually doing inventory. If I'm prepping for a con, whatever is the highest priority for that day, and then I settle down and I can write usually till dinner. But like I said, that's when I'm not running a Kickstarter. When I'm running a Kickstarter, I basically can't write. Maybe every once in a while I can squeeze something in, but usually I'm doing shows like this. I mean, I've been doing a show a day for the last, week and a half. And, that doesn't include having to, we actually need to get food in the house, along with the dog food. And, any of the daily stuff that has to be taken care of, like watering plants and putting gas in the car, just the normal everyday stuff. But yeah, it's amazing that it all manages. I was amazed myself. It's like, okay, I got this done. I have no idea how I did it, but I did it. But really it's because I just do everything in small bits. And it does manage to get done.
I think that's really the smart way to go about doing it, because when you just try and do everything at once, your focus tends to get wrapped up in one thing and a whole bunch of other things kind of fall apart. I think as we reach this point in our lives when we're adulting, and honestly, being an entrepreneur means you are having to juggle multiple things at once. There's no other way of looking at it. So, there's always multiple things going on. So I love that that's your approach. Now you're in the final stretch of your campaign right now. How are you feeling?
Correct. This is good. We've had a very good campaign. And because it's interesting, because I do know that, this is a compilation of the last 4 issues, and a lot of people already have the 4 issues, which is fine. And, so they're going to wait for the new stuff. And I get that. And trust me, new stuff will come. Probably not till next year. But like my husband sat me down because I originally thought I was going to be running 2 Kickstarters this year, which I don't like to do. I only like to run one because it's just so.
It's a lot of work.
It's a time suck. It's a huge time suck. And so, yeah, we're doing very well. We're bringing in a lot of new backers, which makes me very happy, and a good chunk of returning backers who want the new material and particularly the new cover by Marguerite Savage, who just did that amazing cover. I couldn't be happier. And so, the rest will wait till next year when I have new material. And
so how are you going about distribution? Are you focusing mainly on conventions and Kickstarter, or do you have other methods of moving inventory?
Well, we were picked up by SourcePoint Press in 2019. So they have distributed the original 6-issue miniseries and the trade and the 4 sequels, and they'll eventually be distributing this as well.
That's fantastic. So you initially are printing out your batch of books, and then they're going to resolicit it and
Yes.
do their own version of it.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's very interesting. I'm going to have to talk to you after this, because I'm looking right now to get a publishing deal in place, and I'm kind of thinking about how I can continue putting out my single issues without undermining what the publisher has in mind for everything. So we should definitely talk. But aside from that, I'm looking at what you're doing right now on Kickstarter, because you've reached this point now, and it's a point that I think a lot of people, including myself, are very like you're setting a new benchmark, essentially, because I've never run a campaign that's even pushed close to $30,000. This is just really amazing what you're doing right now. What would you attribute that success to? Is it the fact that you've just been at this for a long time? What do you think? What do you think is going on right now? And is this a higher campaign for you? Is this a lower campaign for you? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
My last campaign for a graphic novel was for the Book of Demons. That was our last sequel, and we actually tracked better. We finished at about a little over 36,000 for that, and that was last year around this time, roughly. And but it was also new material, and that really took off. That was the best campaign we had ever had. My personal hope for Book of Demons was to crack 20K, because we hadn't done that yet. We'd gotten close, but not quite. So, my thing was like, okay, little by little, we'll build. That's fine. And then it went crazy, and we had almost 1,000 backers, and it was amazing. And so for this one, of course, we were able to tap into that backer base built on Book of Demons, plus additional marketing that I've done, like through you and through other campaigns, and through Backer Kit, and my own newsletter, and through the few cons. I was able to go to New York Comic Con late last year, so I was able to bring in some new fans from that, and some new folks from the audio drama Kickstarter, which I ran late last year. So it's all cumulative. And I do have an established reputation on Kickstarter. This is my 11th Kickstarter. I deliver everything. As long as you fill out your survey, you got to fill out your survey. Else, I can't send it.
Then it's not possible. Yeah, no.
Yeah, then it's not possible. And everyone has seemed to be really happy with the quality of the work. And they know they can depend on me to deliver, and usually pretty much on time. I think the only time, we were late last year, but not too much. It was like a couple months. Gwen, had a baby, and my artist, it took a while to get the art done because life happens, but sure. It got done, and I knew she'd get it done. I just didn't know exactly when. But yeah, all of the campaigns have been, fulfilled pretty much on time or within a couple months. So for me, in Kickstarter time frame, if you deliver within a couple months, that's on time.
No, and that was something that I had problems with when I haven't done a campaign since 2019. So I've done 2 campaigns. They've both been successful, but there was a lot I didn't know when I did it. I just kind of jumped in and did it. And I had a plan for how I wanted my campaigns to look, but I kind of have a much better understanding of how things work now. And the one thing I'm constantly hearing is it's about doing everything little by little, and just focusing on getting a few more backers here, making a little bit more money here, and just constantly hitting that launch button, going back and just constantly finding new ways to ask, and finding new ways to keep people engaged, so that you're not like constantly coming back and asking for the same thing over and over again. And, seeing that this is your 11th campaign, and on top of that, one thing I noticed too is you teach classes on crowdfunding, and I actually bought your book.
Thank you.
What's going on, Kenneth? How you doing? How's it going? I'm just checking out the comments right now. And by the way, JD really wants to see puppy pictures. What kind of dogs you got?
I have 2 rescue dogs. They're about 8. The Ripley, I think, is a pointer border collie mix, and Bishop is, we think they told us he was pointer border collie, but we think he's actually pointer Dalmatian. Note the names, Bishop and Ripley.
Yes. This is my son. He decided to come and, you want to say hi?
Hello.
You say hi? He put his hand up there. So that's cool. So yes, I love and I love Aliens, by the way. That's one of my favorite series, and one of the best. One of the first like really great female protagonists in a movie. Like Ripley is awesome.
Yeah. She's iconic.
Yeah, she is.
Ripley is just iconic now, and Sigourney Weaver is a marvelous actress, and my understanding, a wonderful human being. So that's always great to hear about your favorite actor celebrity types.
Well, we're always, I find personally that, when I'm inspired by someone else, it typically tends to affect my writing. So, what can you tell us about the main characters of Boston Metaphysical Society, and have there been, where does your inspiration come from for those characters?
Well, one of the three leads are Samuel Hunter, Caitlin O'Sullivan, and Granville T. Woods. Samuel Hunter is an ex-Pinkerton detective, comes from what I call a middle district, which is a middle-class neighborhood. Boston Metaphysical is a very socially rigid universe. And going from one to another is almost virtually impossible. And he did by marrying into a great house. And but then, spoiler alert here, his wife passed away. And he essentially started a detective agency that also researched paranormal activity, and originally had Andrew O'Sullivan on board, who is Caitlin's father. Sorry, allergies.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. We're all going through it.
And he kind of created a space. Because he didn't really fit into any world, because particularly after his wife died, he didn't fit in the great house world. He no longer fit in the working class world of where his parents came from. And so he created a space for outliers like himself, which was Andrew, and which eventually became Caitlin, his daughter, who came to work for him. And but before that, Andrew had introduced him to Granville T. Woods, who in fact is a historical figure. Granville T. Woods is an African-American scientist who lived during this time period. And in my research, sorry.
No worries. Take your time. We are not rushing here. You catch your breath and everything. What's really interesting about this, speaking of the Pinkertons, they're really kind of like what is responsible for making the government what it is now. Like this, they are the authority, so to speak. And
well, they were the original Secret Service.
Yes, exactly.
And they failed badly.
Did they?
Which is why we have the Secret Service.
Because really? I thought they just evolved and became. I mean, that's the way.
No, they were the ones who originally guarded the president, and they guarded Lincoln. So, and you know how that went.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job of guarding Lincoln. That's why he's on the $5
bill. Sorry.
That's all right.
You talk for a while.
So Abraham Lincoln's on the $5 bill, and it's all the Pinkerton fault. There you go.
Yeah.
And Andrew Jackson, he stuck it to the banks, and now they're trying to get him off the $20 bill.
Yeah, they realized that they couldn't rely on an outside entity, so they started the Secret Service for guarding the president. Mm-hmm. And so that's what begat the Secret Service, is the Pinkertons failing. Mm-hmm. They were also known as thugs during the time. Not anymore. They actually still exist. They're mostly cybersecurity and other security. Very, very reputable company. So, yeah.
Sorry, wait, the Pinkertons are still like, it's still an organization that exists today?
Yeah.
Or yeah. Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're still a corporate entity. I think they may be called something else now. I'm not sure. I know back in the day when I was working for a blue chip law firm, I interviewed one of their new departments to come do some work for us, but they were too new at the time in that particular endeavor, and I decided not to hire them.
Oh my God, they're actually based in Chicago. There's one like 20 minutes from my house. I just want to let everybody know that the only reason why I was late today is because I was out paying my taxes. I'm not doing anything illegal. Neither is Madeleine. We're all perfectly caught up on our taxes, and we all follow the law. You don't jaywalk, do you?
Yeah, all the time. I'm in Los Angeles. Of course I jaywalk. That's what we do.
Wow. So, there's the Pinkerton Detective Agency, and it's based in Chicago. And they open up. They're closed today, but they open up at 8 a.m. Monday. And if anybody's interested, JD, you might want to take this information down. Their phone number is 781-588-8747.
Yeah, but back in the day, they were very disreputable. They were strike breakers, and Samuel was part of one of these incidents, and which went sideways. And after that, he left the Pinkertons and decided to go out on his own. And he primarily worked as a bodyguard, which is how he met his wife.
So, going back to where are we now in the story?
We are much farther along. There's like 10 issues, and the first 6 issues, they deal with what I call the shifter. It's an interdimensional being that's come into our universe that they have to deal with. And then the next 4 issues are one-shots. Scourge the Mechanical Men essentially features Tesla and Granville Woods as they deal with the Scourge of the Mechanical Men. And at the same time, Caitlin and Samuel leave town and go to Philadelphia, and that story is told in Spirit of Rebellion, and that kind of changes the whole thread of the storyline and what happens to her and her experience with the shifter in the first 6 issues, how that changed her and changed her abilities, and how that affects everybody. And then you start learning more of how her relationship in the next 2, Ghosts and Demons and Book of Demons, her relationship to demons and what that means in the broader scope of the world. And we go into more deeply in the Book of Demons. I do have a trilogy of novels. I've written the first one called The House Wars, which is my version of the American Civil War in the Boston Metaphysical Universe. And in that, you can dive much deeper into the great house structure and the power structure, and how the Book of Demons became very important during the House Wars. And it's a lot of fun for me because I have the two main protagonists that have to work together are a young woman, late 20s, who is an airship designer and airship pilot, and who comes from a middle class family who works for the great houses, and a woman, a matriarch, who's the head of House Wellsmore in Boston. And how these two end up having to work together. It's just, I really wanted to not only have a young woman protagonist, but a middle-aged woman protagonist who's head of a great house and has to deal with the political machinations of the day and something she's been hiding for many years. So at some point, I will get back to that and get that out.
That's amazing. Madeleine, we're going to take a very short break just to kind of catch our breath. But when we come back, I want to dive more into your comic book inspirations, and I want to hear more about this campaign and how you plan on finishing it out. So we're going to take a quick break, guys. Make sure you're watching these commercials because This is what's allowing us to build the EXP and make it a greater experience, no pun intended, for you. We'll be right back in just a moment. Hang tight.
Did you know that every experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
For years, I have traveled the world slinging my creator-owned comics at the biggest and hottest cons. Now I'm sitting down with creators who have active crowdfunding campaigns happening right now, and I'm opening the gateway so that you can connect with them and support their work. You're watching Kickin It With Onrie, the live crowdfunding show.
That dad joke was great. Supply Chain, the comic book.
Yeah, that was cute. That was very cute.
All right. So speaking of comics,
Uh-huh.
What are your inspirations? So like you fell into this business and you're like, okay, I like this racket. I want to stay in comics. I'm assuming that you read comics too. And if so, what are you reading and what have you read, or, what inspires you? What do you do when you need to, when you're sitting in front of the keyboard and you just see an empty palette and you're like, what do I want to freaking do? What should I look to for inspiration? Where do you go?
Well, my history with comics is a little bit different than most people's. I came to comics quite late in life. My brother probably has one of the largest graded collections of Daredevil comics in the United States.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
That's crazy.
But I don't think he actually reads them. He just collects them. He doesn't actually read them. And superhero comics just never appealed to me. And it wasn't until that it was suggested I go write a graphic novel that I started taking classes. And I was very fortunate to have been taught by Nunzio De Felipe and Christina Ware, and have an amazing group of people in my class who have gone on to do amazing things. So the level was so high that I had these mentors. A woman in my class was a colorist for Marvel, and now she's making movie. I mean, she's just amazing. Christina Strain is her name. You might have seen her. I think she's a showrunner over at Shadow and Bone, and does a ton of stuff. But all these people were my mentors, so I had a really, really good education on how to write comics. But also what was part of that was the syllabus. So I had to go read comics.
Let me guess, is Watchmen on the syllabus?
of course, Watchmen, Astro City. But, what was great was I found all these stories that were so wonderful from the independent side. And I was kind of pissed because no one had told me about this before. I had no idea that independent comics existed prior to this time. None whatsoever. So, I was reading Saga and then later on getting into Sender and Descender. And I started doing a number of years ago reviews for Fan-Based Press, Barbara Dillon over there, primarily to educate myself, to look at all these different comics and their artwork and their, how they do things. And it was quite an education. And that's one of the reasons I like the indie comic space, is because there's all these terrific stories that are original. They're different. They're not your usual fare.
No, I agree with that. JD, I just want to point out that if anybody out there has not read Watchmen, you have to give up your comic fan card. You're not allowed to call yourself a true fan of comics unless you've read Watchmen. Gosh darn it. And by the way, Madeleine, I just want to say, I have to step in here. You pronounced the title of the book wrong. It's not Saga, it's Sega. Just kidding, it's Saga. Just messing around. You want to know something that's weird, though? That book is now like, what, 10 years old?
Yeah.
Like, when did it come out? Like 2011? And it's freaking 11 years old. Like, where did the time go? And you and I started in comics around the same time. Like, you started what, like 2010?
Something, I think 2012 for me. Okay. But I started, because a fan reminded me that this was the 10th anniversary of Boston Metaphysical.
Oh my!
And I went like, what?
Yeah, how is that
even possible?
Yeah.
But I started going to cons before then, because I do remember meeting you, I think at San Diego Comic-Con. You had like a corner of somebody's table.
I was working the corner. I've been working the corner a long time in San Diego.
You were working the corner, and I was really impressed with that. And my husband and I picked up the comics and really enjoyed them. And so, having worked so many cons myself, I definitely appreciate a good hustle when I see it. It's like when someone's working a table, whatever they're doing, it's like, it's like the guys with the CDs outside. They come up with the greatest lines and the greatest hustle. And it's like, dude, I don't want your CD, but here's $20 because that was just awesome.
I'll tell you something that happened that was so freaking cool. I was at Madison a couple weeks ago. It's a completely dead show. This dude comes up to me and I pitch him my book. He goes, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do you something better. He pulls out $100 bill and he goes, keep this. And I'm like, can I at least give you my book? He's like, no, sell your books. Just keep the $100. And that never happens ever. And it probably will never happen again. But it's one of those situations where it's like, I think that what we do primarily first is we sell ourselves before we sell our books.
Yeah.
And if we know what we're talking about in terms of our project and people feel the energy that we have for our own work, it makes it a lot easier for them to get engaged at some point and at least give it a shot and see if it's something that they like. And you've been doing this a long time. And I know that you're hustling at shows too. You're everywhere. All right. So what's your con setup look like? Because I'm very curious.
Well, obviously I've got a table, and I'm right now in flux because bringing in the CD of how it's physically arranged and everything. A number of years ago, my husband built me this brass stand, multi-level stand that's in two parts that you can fold it up, so I could put it into a suitcase and it would not get destroyed on the way to wherever I was going. And I think we're gonna have to retire that soon. I think it's time to reconfigure the con setup, just because the books are changing and a lot of things are changing. But if you're asking basically how I sell, it's essentially I'm on my feet for 10 hours a day, much like you are. And but I use bookmarks. I do too. Yeah, bookmarks are awesome. cool character bookmarks, and I just like, hey, would you like a bookmark? It's free, it's easy, and you just smile, and you're very relaxed with people, and if you can get them engaged in a conversation, and when people are just being polite and they're disinterested, and you let them go. You don't make it painful for anybody.
No,
But
and here's the thing: it's very hard because, like, we're in a period of inflation, right? Where the prices on everything is just constantly going up, and everybody says, "Well, you have to adjust for inflation." Well, good luck doing that with an independent comic book, because when we come to these conventions, people aren't there for us, right? We know that they're there for something else. We're there to kind of keep them engaged and entertained, and to constantly bring up, the prices, you kind of have to in some ways, but we have to constantly do it in creative ways that doesn't throw the customer off and make them feel like, wow, I can't buy this book because it's $30 and I only have $20 left. Like, what are you going to do at that point? And I think it's really, it's not just the matter of, hey, I'm pitching my book and I want to sell it. I have to sell it to someone who is not there to spend money on me. And, working around that, I think I think that requires a lot of patience, like what you're saying, and just being really kind of like mellow about it, learning to deal with that rejection, because it's going to happen.
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. But you do have to sell in a way that suits your own personality, that you are comfortable with. And sometimes that takes time, and you need to work it. I remember the first few years, reworking the pitch, and occasionally my husband will come with me and he'll say, like, the pitch just isn't really working. And so we'll rework the pitch while we're there, depending on the folks, and see, you got to remain fluid depending on the type of show. Is it a big show? Is it, are you getting, are you in a good aisle? Are you in a good space? Are the aisle dynamics good? There will be times when, sometimes an artist won't show up and a table will be empty, and you don't want empty tables in your aisle. So no, that's a bad thing, because what people don't realize is that the attendees, as they're, strolling down the aisle, out of the corner of their eye, they see an empty table. And even though every other table is filled, their brain goes like, oh, there's nothing there. And they won't go down that aisle. So what I did, I think it was the first time I did this at WonderCon, is we had an empty table, and this was pre-pandemic. Everyone in our little section of the aisle, I said, hey, let's fill up this table with marketing material. So everyone just put bookmarks or postcards or a little this or a little that. We put like an empty used coffee cup, a little runner on it, so it looked like somebody was there. And it worked. People would come by and they'd stop and they'd pick up the bookmarks and the postcards. And,
that's awesome.
And they'd turn around like, oh, look at that. I mean, it happened at Rose City last year. There were two tables next to me completely empty that for whatever reason they didn't show up. So I talked to the powers that be and said, like, can we expand, or can the folks down from me, can they move down and take up some of the space? And they said, sure, go ahead. I always ask whoever's running the show if it's okay to do that, because, it's their show. So
of course, it's house rule, right?
It's only polite that you ask.
Yeah, you don't want to be like Ted Sikora and just spread it across like an entire aisle with your ever expanding convention setup. And I'm just poking fun at Ted Sikora, because the joke behind that is we were at New York Comic Con and the booth next to him, no one showed up, and he goes, I'm gonna get in really early tomorrow and just take that booth. And so he came over there and he just expanded. So I called him the Vulture. Because what happened was, is as soon as the show floor opened, he jumped on top of his table and was like perched up there, and he looked just like the freaking Vulture, and he was like, ah! So I made fun of him for his but that's actually a really great idea. And I actually came across a very similar problem at Emerald City Comic Con, because the entire aisle was dead. There was nothing there. And here I was in an inline, and I was really worried, but I had the benefit of my neighbors across from me because they had stocked up all their merchandise through the entire aisle. So it actually did drive traffic down, but I can't imagine what it would be like if they weren't there, because I wouldn't have had anybody, you know? So it's really interesting that you came up with that idea.
Yeah, and so I just when I make sure that table is going to remain empty for whatever reason, or tables, and then I just start talking to everybody. I said, "Hey, it's okay. You can move down, spread out if you want to." Everyone, and so they all shifted, and then once again in that empty space, marketing material, empty coffee cups. Someone had an extra runner, and it looked like somebody was there, and so it looked filled, and it just. It works well for everybody. And so, yeah, I get everyone involved in the aisle. So everyone gets to participate and gets their marketing material, their cards, whatever they have over there. And it does work, because people will pick up something and they'll look at it, well, that's cool. And then they turn around and like, oh, they're right over there. And off they go. So it's a win-win for everybody. But yeah, I haven't run it. I've done this a number of times at cons for empty tables, and I have yet to run any resistance. People usually go like, "Oh, okay, what can we put?" They're trying desperately. What can we put over there? It's like, whatever you like. It's fine.
So, Madeleine, we're coming to the end of our episode right now, and I'm curious to know. This will be the last question, and we're going to give you a chance to give us your final send up. What conventions can we find you at?
I will be at Hellmouth Con in Los Angeles. That's first weekend of June at LAX Hilton. I think that's my only real local one I'm doing. Then I'll be at San Diego Comic-Con in Small Press. And I am still waiting to hear back on Denver, Emerald City, and New York Comic-Con.
Awesome.
And of course, and I'll probably be at Gaslight Expo in October. That's a small steampunk convention.
That's awesome. So you're jumping from outside of your standard comic convention too. That's fantastic. I know a lot of creators are doing that. Excellent. All right. So we are at the end of our episode, and I want to give you a chance to say your final word. Send us where you want us to be sent to, and tell us all the good stuff.
Okay. Well, we're running a Kickstarter for Boston Metaphysical Society Volume 2, which contains all of our previously published sequels, along with a brand new bonus 10-page story with art by Roberta Ingranata and a new cover by Marguerite Savage. We also offer Volume 1 in both digital and print form. Yes, that's the cover from Marguerite. And yes, you can get everything in either digital form or trade paperback form. We have a brand new pin that we're doing. It's a thing I always do. Every time I have a graphic novel Kickstarter, I have a pin. This is a steam engine pin designed by Alejandro Lee. And also the audio drama is available in CD and download. And for the upper tier, it is available also in a flash drive. It's a very cool flash drive you can see there. That's very limited quantities. And it looks like we've just made our 7th and last stretch goal. So yay. So if you get on board for a digital reward, you'll also be getting 18 additional comics on top of that, along with some wallpaper of the cover by Marguerite Savage. And if you pledge to a reward that's a physical reward, you'll not only be getting all of the digital stretch goals, but you'll be getting 4 really cool magnets, character magnets, along with the new thing I've done. And it's a bookmark. It's a metal bookmark with a copper finish. Has an airship on it and our logo. I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, it's the first time we've done that. And yes, you'll find us on Kickstarter. Just type in Boston Metaphysical and it should pop right up. It's Volume 2. And you can also find me at my website at bostonmetaphysicalsociety.com, Facebook, a Boston Metaphysical Society comic, Twitter, M. Holly-Rosing, and Instagram at MC Holly and the numeral 1.
And friend her on Facebook. All right,
Yeah.
Madeleine, thank you so much. We will have you back on the show anytime you like. Thank you so much for being here with us. And
Thank you.
Yeah, take care. Guys, we got to wrap this up. Nick's Original Art Show is coming up right now. You're watching The Experience, and have a wonderful evening. I will see you guys tomorrow at Free Comic Book Day.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere The Experience is all the time.